The rain-slicked streets of Brooklyn gleamed under the sodium glow of street lamps as Jordan's phone shattered the midnight hush with a ringtone he'd long since deleted. Emily's old number, a ghost from a life he'd torched. He froze mid-stride, heart slamming against his ribs like a caged animal. The words she'd spat 12 years ago echoing unbidden. "You're not just leaving me, Jordan, you're erasing us." And now, as the screen lit up with her name, he knew the ashes were stirring, ready to choke him alive. Jordan's thumb hovered, trembling, over the answer button. In that suspended second, the triplets' faces, his daughters, or so the world believed, flashed before him. Lila's fierce green eyes, mirroring his own, Miah's soft curls, wild as summer storms, and Nora's quiet smile, the one that always hid her fire. He'd built an empire on lies, a tech startup in the shadow of Manhattan that peddled honest connections, while his own soul rotted from the inside. But Emily's voice, when it finally broke through, was a blade. "I'm coming for you, Jordan." And this time, the truth doesn't stay buried. Jordan slammed the door of his brownstone harder than he meant to, the echo rattling through the high-ceilinged loft like a gunshot in a confessional. The place smelled of fresh espresso and the faint, lingering cologne of Alex, sandalwood and citrus, a scent that had become his anchor in the storm of his unraveling life. Alex was in the kitchen, sleeves rolled up on his flannel shirt, humming some indie folk tune as he chopped onions for a late-night stir-fry. He was the kind of man who made domesticity look effortless, his broad frame moving with the grace of someone who'd grown up fixing engines in a rusty garage in rural Ohio before trading wrenches for a camera lens. "You look like you saw a ghost," Alex said, glancing up with those warm brown eyes that crinkled at the corners, the ones that had first caught Jordan's gaze across a crowded gallery opening 3 years ago. It had been a rainy night in Soho, much like this one, and Alex's photographs, raw, unflinching portraits of queer lives in the American heartland, had stripped Jordan bare without a single touch. Jordan leaned against the doorframe, forcing a laugh that came out jagged. "Worse. My ghost just called to RSVP for dinner." He crossed the room in 3 strides, pulling Alex into a fierce embrace, burying his face in the crook of his neck. Alex's arms wrapped around him instinctively, strong and steady, the kind of hold that said, "I've got you," without needing words. But tonight, Jordan felt the fracture lines spiderwebbing through his chest. They'd met at that exhibit, Jordan, the polished CEO of ConnectSphere, scrolling mindlessly through his phone to avoid small talk, when Alex sidled up with a beer in hand. "You stare at those walls like they're hiding your secrets," Alex had quipped, his Midwestern drawl cutting through the pretension like a fresh-cut field. Jordan had turned, ready with a deflection, but Alex's gaze pinned him, curious, not judgmental. By the end of the night, they'd stumbled into a dive bar, trading stories over whiskey shots, Jordan's sanitized version of his divorce, Alex's tales of coming out in a town where rainbows were just for parades. That was the spark. What followed was a slow burn, the kind of love that crept in like dawn over the East River. Tentative dates at hole-in-the-wall Takarius, stolen kisses in Central Park under the cover of autumn leaves, and finally, this loft, where Jordan learned to let go of the armor he'd worn since college. Alex knew the broad strokes. The shotgun wedding at 22 to Emily, the high school sweetheart who'd bloomed into a fiery journalist, the triplets born 9 months later, a miracle or a curse depending on the hour. The implosion when Jordan confessed his truth over a sterile kitchen table in their Jersey suburb, the words tumbling out like vomit after years of choking them down. I can't pretend anymore. I'm, I'm, I'm gay. I love you as the mother of my girls. But not like that. God, I'm so sorry. Her face had crumpled, not in rage, but in a devastation so profound it carved canyons in Jordan's soul. She'd signed the papers quietly, demanded full custody to spare the girls the scandal, and vanished into the freelance circuit, chasing stories from war zones to Washington corridors. Jordan had funneled alimony like a lifeline, built walls of success to drown the guilt. The girls visited summers in the city, awkward weekends filled with Broadway shows and awkward silences. Their questions about Daddy's friend Alex met with half-truths that tasted like ash. Now, Emily's call replayed in his mind on loop. The truth doesn't stay buried. What truth? The infidelity he'd buried in his 20s? The one-night stands with faceless men in dimly lit clubs? Or something darker? Something she'd unearthed in her globe-trotting exile? Alex pulled back, cupping Jordan's face with flour-dusted hands. Talk to me, babe. You're shaking. His thumb brushed Jordan's scar, a gentle anchor. Jordan sank onto the worn leather couch, the city skyline twinkling mockingly through the floor-to-ceiling windows. Brooklyn sprawled below, a patchwork of immigrant dreams and hipster reinventions, where Jordan had finally exhaled. She's coming back, he said finally, voice rough. Emily says she has something to show me. About the girls. The words hung heavy, laced with the old fear that he'd poisoned his daughters' lives from the start. Alex sat beside him, thigh pressing warm against Jordan's. The triplets? What could she possibly? I don't know. Jordan's hands clenched into fists. But her voice. It was cold, Alex. Like she'd been sharpening knives for years. They ate in relative quiet, the stir-fry savory and grounding, but Jordan's mind raced ahead to tomorrow. Emily had demanded a meeting at the High Line, that elevated park snaking through the meatpacking district, neutral ground, elevated above the chaos. As Alex cleared plates, humming again, Jordan watched him, gratitude swelling like a tide. This man, with his calloused fingers and unshakable faith in second chances, had pulled him from the wreckage. Their love was the realest thing Jordan had ever touched. Lazy Sundays tangled in sheets, arguments over whose turn it was to walk the dog, a scruffy mutt named Scout, adopted from a shelter in Queens, and the quiet nights when Alex would trace the tattoos on Jordan's back, remnants from his rebellious phase, a phoenix rising over a cracked heart. But shadows lingered. Jordan's boardroom persona was all sharp suits and TED Talk charisma, pitching algorithms that fostered authentic bonds while his own past festered. Whispers in the industry about his messy divorce had nearly tanked a funding round once, and he'd paid a PR firm a small fortune to spin it as irreconcilable differences. Alex, ever the artist, called bullshit on the corporate gloss, urging Jordan to come out publicly. The world's ready, Jord. Hell, the kids are 15 now, they get it. The girls. Lila, the firebrand, already blogging about climate activism from her elite Manhattan prep school dorm. Miah, the dreamer, sketching fantastical worlds in her journals. Nora, the observer, with her uncanny knack for reading rooms like a novelist. They adored Alex, calling him Uncle A in texts peppered with emojis, oblivious to the deeper currents. Or so Jordan prayed. Sleep came fitful, Alex's snores a soothing rumble beside him. Dawn broke gray and drizzly, the city stirring with its relentless pulse. Jordan dressed in jeans and a Henley, the casual armor of a man pretending normalcy. He kissed Alex goodbye at the door, lingering on the threshold. If this goes south, it won't. Alex's smile was a lifeline. And if it does, we'll face it. Together. Now go slay your dragons. The High Line was a ribbon of green amid concrete canyons, wildflowers nodding in the mist as joggers and tourists threaded the path. Jordan spotted her from afar. Emily, unchanged in essence if not in detail, hair cropped short now, streaked with defiant red, her frame leaner, hardened by years on the road. She wore a trench coat belted tight, hands buried in pockets, staring out at the Hudson like it held answers. Jordan. Her voice was steady, but her eyes, storm gray, just like the girls, held a tempest. No hug, no handshake, just the chasm of years. He swallowed, tasting regret. You look good. A bitter laugh. Save the pleasantries. I'm not here for coffee and catch-up. She pulled a manila envelope from her bag, thick with promise and peril. This is for you. Read it alone. Then decide if you're man enough to tell your daughters the truth. He took it, the paper crisp against his palm, weight like lead. What is this? Some exposé? You gonna drag me through the tabloids? Her gaze softened. Just a flicker. Not about you, Jordan. About them. About what you left behind. She turned to leave, pausing at the railing. I forgave you once, for their sake. But lies have half-lives. This one's expired. She melted into the crowd, leaving Jordan clutching the envelope, heart pounding a war drum. He found a bench, hidden by a thicket of ornamental grasses, and tore it open. Pages spilled out, medical records, affidavits, a DNA report stamped with a lab's official seal. His vision blurred as he scanned the header, paternity test results. Triplets, Lila, Miah, Nora versus Jordan Hale. Probability of paternity, 0%. Not the biological father. The world tilted. Not his, but the eyes, the curls, the laugh mirrors of his youth. Emily's notes, scrawled in her looping script. You were so desperate to normalize back then, Jordan. Pushed for the IVF, picked the donor yourself, your ideal traits. But you never asked who the real father was. Or maybe you did, and buried it deeper than your closet. Flashes assaulted him. The fertility clinic in Boston, sterile and hopeful. Emily's hand in his as the doctor explained anonymous donors. The joy of the first ultrasound, 3 heartbeats fluttering like secrets. He'd chosen the profile, athletic build, creative bent, Irish heritage to craft the perfect legacy. But Emily's words pierced. The donor wasn't anonymous. He was your college roommate, the one you fucked in the dorm showers and swore to forget. Ryan. He sold his samples for cash, never knowing. Until I found him last year, dying of cancer in some nowhere town in Montana. He told me everything, how you begged him to keep quiet, how you paid him off to disappear. Ryan. The name ignited a blaze of memory. Fumbling hands in the dark, the terror of discovery, the pact sealed with hush money from Jordan's first startup loan. Emily had pieced it together, her journalist's nose sniffing out the rot. The triplets were his genetically, through a twisted thread, but not in the way the world assumed. Incestuous echoes, a buried sin that could shatter everything. Jordan's knees buckled. He retched into the bushes, the rain mingling with tears on his face. Alex. The girls. His empire. All built on this? Emily's final note. They deserve to know their origins. Not for revenge, for freedom. Yours too, if you have the guts. He stumbled home, the envelope burning a hole in his jacket. Alex was at his desk, editing photos for an upcoming show. Intimate shots of queer couples, raw and radiant. He looked up, concern etching his features. Jord? What happened? Jordan collapsed into his arms, the truth spilling like blood from a fresh wound. Alex listened, silent, his embrace unyielding as the sobs racked Jordan's body. When the storm passed, Alex whispered, "We'll fix this. But first, you breathe. You're not alone." That night, they lay entwined, the city a distant hum. Jordan traced Alex's spine, memorizing the map of his lover's strength. Love, he realized, wasn't the absence of secrets, it was the courage to unearth them together. But dawn brought the real test, a text from Lila. "Dad, Mom says we need to talk. All of us." What's going on? The fracture had begun. The Hale family reunion unfolded in a midtown diner that smelled of grease and nostalgia. The kind of place where vinyl booths cracked like old skin and waitresses called you Han without irony. Jordan arrived first, nursing a black coffee that scalded his tongue, the envelope tucked in his messenger bag like a live grenade. Alex had offered to come, but Jordan waved him off. "This is my mess, babe. Let me wade through it solo." Truth was, he didn't want Alex tainted by the fallout. Not yet. Emily swept in 5 minutes later, the triplets trailing like echoes of her resolve. Lila in ripped jeans and a protest tee, her hair a riot of curls tied back. Miah clutching a sketchpad, eyes wide and watchful. Nora, ever the peacemaker, with a paperback novel dog-eared at a dogfight scene. They slid into the booth opposite him, a wall of youthful scrutiny that made Jordan feel exposed, ancient. "Dad." Lila's voice was sharp, accusatory. "Mom dropped this bomb on us last night. Says you're not biologically ours? What the actual fuck?" "Lila," Emily murmured, but there was no real reprimand. She'd primed them. Jordan saw that now, her way of evening the scales. He cleared his throat, the words sticking like burrs. "Girls. It's complicated. More than biology." His eyes darted to Emily, pleading for mercy she wouldn't grant. She met his gaze evenly, her presence a reminder of the woman he'd once vowed to cherish, the one who'd borne his burdens when he couldn't face his own. "Start at the beginning," Nora said softly, her fingers twisting the hem of her sweater. 15. She was the bridge between her sister's tempests, intuitive, absorbing the unspoken like a sponge. Jordan exhaled, the diner fading as memory pulled him under. It began in the sticky summer of 2008, Ann Arbor, Michigan, where the air hummed with cicadas and the promise of futures unspooled. Jordan Hale, 22 and freshly graduated with a comp sci degree, was the golden boy, quarterback build, easy charm, the guy who could code an app prototype by breakfast and charm a room by lunch. But beneath the frat boy polish lurked a secret gnawing at his bones, the boys' locker room glances that lingered too long, the porn tabs minimized in panic, the drunken hookups rationalized as experimentation. Ryan O'Malley was the catalyst. Lanky Irish import with freckles like constellations and a laugh that disarmed defenses. He'd crashed Jordan's orbit as the new RA in their off-campus house. Shared late nights over Red Bull and algorithms turned to something electric. A brush of knees under the kitchen table, a wrestling match on the living room rug that ended with lips crashing, clumsy and desperate. It was fire raw, consuming, but terror doused it quick. "This can't happen again," Jordan had gasped, shoving Ryan away even as his body screamed otherwise. "I'm getting married. Emily, she's it." Normal. Ryan's eyes had hardened, hurt flickering to betrayal. "Normal? Fuck you, Jordan. This is you." But money talked louder. Jordan scraped together $5,000 from his internship stipend, a bribe dressed as relocation help when Ryan transferred schools mid-semester. The silence that followed was a mercy, or so Jordan told himself. Enter Emily. Vibrant, ambitious, the poli-sci major who chained him to a keg stand at a tailgate and never let go. She was safety, soft curves, shared dreams of white pickets and bylines. They married in a backyard ceremony, her in thrift store lace, him in khakis, the crowd toasting futures bright as Lake Huron sunsets. But the doubts festered. Sex was mechanical, affection a performance. When Emily's clock started ticking louder than her career ambitions, Jordan panicked. "Kids, that'll fix it. Make me straight." IVF was the modern miracle, donor sperm, anonymous, tailored. He pored over profiles in secret, selecting traits that echoed his own green eyes, athleticism, a creative streak, unwittingly choosing Ryan's, the system a blind roulette. The triplets arrived like a thunderclap. 3 girls, tiny and fierce, Lila howling first, Miah and Nora following in harmonious cries. Fatherhood was a revelation. Diaper changes at 3 a.m., tiny fingers clutching his thumb, the way their laughter stitched his fractures. For 5 years, it held. Family barbecues in Jersey, Emily's articles gracing the Atlantic, Jordan's startup seed money from a Detroit VC. But the lie eroded him. Panic attacks in board meetings, affairs in shadows, quick, guilty trysts with men whose names he never learned. The confession came on a Tuesday, rain lashing the windows like judgment. Emily had just landed a fellowship in D.C., Jordan, fresh from a networking trip that left lipstick on his collar, wrong, but the scent lingered. "I can't do this," he'd blurted, the words a dam breaking. "I'm gay. I love you as a friend, as the mother of our miracles, but I can't love you like a husband should." Her silence was the loudest thing. Then, the girls. What about them? No screams, no plates hurled, just that quiet devastation, the kind that reshapes souls. She took custody, the alimony a river of guilt money, and Jordan fled to New York, burying himself in code and conquests until Alex. Back in the diner, the girls' faces mirrored the spectrum. Lila's fury, a mirror to his younger rage. Miah's confusion, sketching absent patterns on a napkin. Nora's empathy, reaching across to squeeze his hand. "So, Ryan," Miah ventured, voice small. "Mom says he's gone. But he was part of us." Emily nodded, her role shifting from avenger to guide. "He didn't know about you 3. Jordan made sure of that. But when I tracked him down for a story on donor ethics, he told me fragments. Enough to connect dots. He regretted the silence, wanted to make amends before the end. Jordan's throat tightened. I was scared. A kid myself, really. Thought if I buried it deep enough, it'd stay dead. He looked at them, his daughters in all but blood, his in every laugh, every quirk. You're mine. Always. Biology's just ink on a page. Lila slammed her palm on the table, silverware rattling. But you lied. To Mom. To us. What if we'd grown up thinking we were some perfect nuclear family lie? Tears streaked her cheeks, hot and unashamed. And Alex? Is he just your consolation prize? The question gutted him. No. Alex is home. The first real thing since you three. Emily watched, her expression unreadable. I came back for this, for them to know they're not accidents or cover-ups. They're loved, fiercely, by people who fucked up but tried. She stood, signaling the end. The rest is yours, Jordan. Don't bury it again. They parted in the drizzle, hugs tentative, promises whispered. Lila muttered, We'll talk more. But don't ghost us, Dad. Miah slipped him a sketch, a family tree, roots tangled but strong. Nora just held on longest, her whisper, We get it. The hiding. But no more. Jordan walked the blocks to the subway in a daze, the city a blur of umbrellas and honks. His phone buzzed. Alex, how'd it go? Pizza and truth serum when you get home? A laugh bubbled up, raw and real. But as the train rattled toward Brooklyn, doubt crept in. The board meeting loomed, investors sniffing for scandals, a rival firm circling with whispers of personal instability. If this leaked, CEO's secret donor incest twist, Connexphere could crater. And Alex, his rock, deserved better than collateral damage. Home was sanctuary. Scout's joyful assault at the door, Alex's arms pulling him close. Spill, Alex murmured, guiding him to the couch with a beer in hand. Jordan did, every jagged piece. Alex listened, fingers interlaced, until the end. Then, proud of you, Jord. That took balls. Kiss, deep and affirming, chased the chill. But as they made love that night, slow, reverent, bodies speaking what words couldn't, Jordan felt the undercurrent. This truth was a tide, rising to claim more. Days blurred into a tense rhythm. The girls texted daily, group chats filling with memes and probing questions. What's Ryan's favorite band? Lila demanded. Miah sent playlists for processing. Nora called, her voice a bomb. We're okay, Dad. Really? Emily vanished again, off to some embed in Gaza. But her parting gift lingered, a USB drive of Ryan's letters, fragmented confessions from a man who died regretting his silence. Jordan dove into work, pitching expansions to Silicon Alley VCs, his charisma a shield. But cracks showed. A reporter from TechCrunch emailed, Heard rumors about your family dynamic? Care to comment? Paranoia bloomed. He confided in Alex over rooftop beers, the skyline a glittering distraction. What if it destroys everything, us included? Alex's hand on his knee was steady. Then we rebuild. Queer love's always been apocalypse-proof. His photos were gaining traction. A gallery in Chelsea booked his show, Hidden Threads, featuring portraits like Jordan's, scarred, resilient, unapologetic. The high came crashing on a Friday. Lila announced a school project on non-traditional families, roping Jordan in for an interview. You and Mom, Alex, it's messy, but real. Pride swelled, but so did fear. That night, as Jordan scrolled donor ethics forums in morbid fascination, his phone lit with an unknown number. We know about Ryan. Meet or we go public. Hudson Hotel. Tomorrow. 8 p.m. The betrayal's hook sank deep. The Hudson Hotel's lobby was a fever dream of mid-century cool. Plush velvet chairs, brass accents gleaming under low lights, the air thick with the murmur of dealmakers and discreet assignations. Jordan arrived early, collar unbuttoned, pulse a staccato beat. He told Alex a half-truth. Late client dinner. The lie tasted foul, but after the donor scandal's near-miss, he couldn't drag his lover into another shadow. The blackmailer waited in a corner booth, nursing a Scotch neat. Not a stranger, Mark Ellison, Jordan's college buddy turned venture capitalist, the smarmy networker who'd greased palms for ConnectSphere's Series A. Balding now, with a paunch straining his Brooks Brothers shirt, but the eyes were the same, calculating, hungry. Jordan, old sport. Mark raised his glass. Smile oily. Sit. Drink. Let's not make this messy. Jordan slid in, voice low thunder. How the hell do you know about Ryan? Mark leaned back, savoring the hook. World's small, especially in our circles. Remember that Boston clinic? I bankrolled a fertility startup back then. Perks of being early money. Your file popped when Emily's PI started digging. Donor records aren't as anonymous as they sell. He slid a tablet across. Screenshots of emails, clinic logs, Ryan's obituary circled in red. Poetic, really. Your little secret spawn. Rage coiled in Jordan's gut, but he played cool. What do you want? Money? A board seat? Mark's laugh was a bark. Nah. Equity. 20% of ConnectSphere, wired by end of month. Or this hits Forbes Monday, Tech Titans Twisted Family Tree. Imagine the headlines: incest light, gay awakening, abandoned wife. Your stock tanks. Investors bolt. The demand was a gut punch. 20%? That was control. A noose around Jordan's dream. ConnectSphere wasn't just code. It was redemption. A platform born from his isolation. AI matchmaking for LGBTQ plus folks. Fostering connections he'd craved in youth. Handing reins to this vulture? It'd poison the core. You're scum, Jordan hissed. This isn't business, it's extortion. Call it leverage. Mark's grin widened. We all have skeletons, Jord. Yours just dances. Jordan stormed out into the Chelsea night, the betrayal a fresh scar. Mark, friend, or so he'd thought, had watched from the wings, profiting on pain. Back in the loft, Alex was dozing over a script, highlighters scattered like confetti. Jordan crawled into bed, pressing against his warmth, but sleep evaded. Dawn brought clarity. Fight dirty, or fold. He lawyered up first, a shark from Midtown named Carla, who'd repped queer activists pro bono. Slander suits our play, she said over Zoom, her office a skyline of case files. But we need proof. And PR spin, lean into the humanity. Your story, not his. The girls sensed the shift. Lila cornered him on a video call. You look wrecked, Dad. Spill. He hedged, but Nora's intuition pierced. It's about us, isn't it? The truth stuff. Miah chimed in. We're tougher than you think. Remember my comic? Heroes don't hide. Their faith fueled him. Alex, to his show opening in a week. He'd roped Jordan into hanging frames, their banter a bomb. This blackmail prick, Alex said one evening, paint-speckled and fierce. He's preying on your shame. Flip it. Own the narrative. Emboldened, Jordan traced the leak. Mark's fertility venture? A shell company. Shady as hell. Tax dodges. Off-books donors. Carla dug dirt. Lawsuits buried. Ethics violations. Leverage begot leverage. The counterpunch landed at a rooftop mixer in Tribeca. Schmoozers swirling with martinis under string lights. Jordan cornered Mark by the railing. City lights winking below like co-conspirators. Deal's off, he said. Voice steel. Carla's got your clinic files. Embezzlement. Falsified consents, nasty. Mark's face drained of color. You bluffing? Test me. Jordan slid a USB across mirrored docs. Anonymous drop to a Wall Street Journal tip line. Walk away, or we both burn. But mine's got heart. Yours is just greed. Sweat beaded Mark's brow. 15%? 0. And a retraction email to my board by noon. Jordan's hazel eyes locked. Unyielding, the same gaze that had stared down Ryan. But wiser now. Mark capitulated with a nod, slinking off like a whipped dog. Victory tasted bittersweet, hollow without confession. Jordan texted Alex, "It's done. Coming home." The reply, proud. "Bring wine. And your whole damn heart." But the real tempest brewed elsewhere. Emily's byline hit The Guardian 2 days later, donor deception. How America's fertility industry hides queer pasts. No names, but the parallels screamed. Anonymous donors unmasked. Families fractured by secrets. Jordan's phone exploded. Bored emails frantic. Reporters circling. "Is this you?" He denied publicly, but privately, panic clawed. The climax crested at Alex's gallery opening, a converted warehouse in Bushwick pulsing with art lovers and influencers. Hidden Threads was a triumph, walls alive with faces like Jordan's, etched with longing, defiance, love's quiet revolutions. Alex stood center, in slim chinos and a button-down that hugged his frame, accepting accolades with humble grace. Jordan arrived fashionably late, bouquet of wildflowers in hand, daisies and lavender, Alex's favorites. But as he wove through the crowd, a figure detached, Lila, unannounced, with her sisters flanking. "Surprise," she grinned, but her eyes scanned warily. "Mom said this was your scene. Thought we'd crash." Heart soaring, Jordan pulled them into hugs, the scent of teenage perfume and rain-damp coats grounding him. "You came. All of you." Miah nodded to a photo, Jordan's portrait, the one Alex had shot last winter in Central Park. Snowflakes catching in his lashes. "It's us. Hidden, but not broken," Nora smiled. "Alex invited us. Said it's family night." The word family landed like grace. But then the murmur rippled. Phones buzzing. Heads turning. A projector flickered to life in the corner. Unbidden. Mark's revenge? No, Emily's final salvo. Grainy footage played, clinic interviews, blurred faces testifying to donor lies. Then, a voiceover, Jordan's own from an old podcast. Anonymized but unmistakable. "Hiding who you are." It warps everything. Gasps. Whispers. A reporter in the crowd whipped out her phone. Live tweeting. Alex's face paled across the room, but he moved like lightning, killing the feed. Technical glitch, folks. Back to the art. Chaos erupted outside. Flashes popping. Mics thrust. Mr. Hale, is the article about you? The triplets? Your daughters? Jordan froze, the girls clustering close. Lila's chin lifted defiantly. Back off, creeps. But Nora trembled. Miah's sketchpad clutched like a shield. In the fray, Alex broke through, his hand finding Jordan's public, unapologetic. No comment, he growled to the press, steering them toward a side exit. But yeah, he's mine. Deal with it. The getaway was a blur. Cab to the loft. Girls piled in back. Laughter edged with hysteria. Holy shit, Dad. Lila exhaled. You're viral. Inside, with hot cocoa steaming, the debrief unfolded. Emily called, not me, the projector. Mark's parting shot. But Jordan laughed. A release. Let it burn. We're free. That night, as the girls crashed in the guest room, Jordan and Alex stood on the fire escape, city lights a constellation below. I almost lost this, Jordan murmured, forehead to Alex's. You. Them. Us. Alex's kiss was fierce, claiming. You didn't. And now, the world's got a front row seat to our messy, beautiful truth. But dawn brought the deluge. Stock dipped 12%. Board demanding resignation. Jordan faced it head-on. A presser in his office. Yes, the story's mine. I hid for love, for fear. But my daughters, they're my legacy. Alex, my future. Connexphere will evolve. Transparent as hell. The fallout was brutal. Allies scattered. Rivals pounced. Yet threads held investors who stayed, drawn to the authenticity. The girls' fierce support. Lila's viral thread. My dad's a gay icon now. Get over it. Emily's email. Proud of you. Finally. Let's co-parent for real. In the wreckage, love deepened. Alex's show sold out, pieces fetching 5 figures. Jordan stepped back from CEO, mentoring instead. His energy poured into open-source queer tech. Nights were sacred. Family dinners with the triplets. Board games laced with inside jokes. Stolen weekends in the Catskills, where Jordan and Alex hiked trails hand in hand. Scout bounding ahead. Yet the scar throbbed, a reminder of betrayal's bite. Mark vanished, sued into oblivion, but trust, fractured. Jordan therapieted out, sessions with a queer counselor in Park Slope unpacking the closets within closets. One evening, months on, as snow dusted Brooklyn, the girls unveiled their gift, a family portrait, Miah's art, Jordan and Alex entwined, triplets orbiting like stars, Emily a distant but warm moon. To buried truths, Nora toasted with sparkling cider. And the ones that rise, Jordan's eyes met Alex's, gratitude a quiet flame. Redemption wasn't erasure, it was excavation, love the shovel. Spring unfurled over New York like a hesitant promise. Cherry blossoms carpeting the high line in pink defiance against the concrete grind. Jordan walked it often now, not as a haunted man, but as one reclaiming ground, the same path where Emily had handed him the envelope that cracked his world. 6 months post-scandal, The city had moved on to fresher outrage. A crypto crash, a political implosion. Connect Sphere stabilized. Rebranded as Authenticore, its app now a beacon for marginalized voices. User testimonials flooding Jordan's inbox with stories that mirrored his own. Closets cracked open, loves unearthed. He'd resigned as CEO, but not from purpose. As chief advisor, he mentored a non-binary founder from the Bronx. Her vision for VR therapy spaces a spark that reignited his fire. Mornings started with Alex's coffee ritual strong, black, with a kiss chaser, followed by runs along the waterfront, where the East River slapped against piers like applause. Scout loped beside them, tongue-lolling, the picture of uncomplicated joy. The triplets thrived in the aftershock. Lila's blog exploded. Her piece Daddy's Donor Drama. Why Family Ain't Blood, racking up shares from Teen Vogue to TikTok elders. She interned at a queer youth center in Harlem, channeling fury into advocacy. Miah's comics debuted at a zine fest in Williamsburg, graphic novels of tangled lineages, heroes with fractured maps. Nora, The Quiet Storm, penned essays for her school paper, dissecting the ethics of erasure with a maturity that awed Jordan. They rotated weekends, Jersey with Emily, Brooklyn with him and Alex, a co-parenting tapestry woven from compromise and care. Emily had softened in exile's thaw. Her Gaza embed yielded a Pulitzer nod, but she returned changed, lines etched deeper, but a lightness in her step. They met monthly, neutral zones like this park, trading updates over takeout falafel. The girls say you're spoiling them rotten, she'd tease, her gray eyes no longer daggers. Guilt's a hell of a motivator, Jordan replied, half joking. Last month, she'd brought dates. A photojournalist named Sam, broad-shouldered and kind, who made her laugh like Jordan never had. The stung, a vestige of what-ifs, but mostly it healed, proof that endings birthed beginnings. Tonight's walk was different. A family summit, Alex in tow with a picnic basket, the girls scattering crumbs for pigeons. Lila sprawled on the grass, scrolling feeds. Dad, your TEDx invite? Slay it. Tell him how burying shit almost buried you. Jordan chuckled, but Alex's hand in his grounded the quip. Their relationship had weathered the gale stronger, scarred like kintsugi gold. Alex's photography career soared. Hidden Threads toured nationally, landing him a Guggenheim Fellowship. Yet fame chafed him. He craved the darkroom, the click of shutter capturing quiet intimacies. Jordan asleep, jaw slack with peace. The triplets mid-laugh, a trinity of light. Intimacy deepened in the quiet hours. Sex was no longer frantic escape, but sacrament, lazy explorations under dawn light. Alex's whispers tracing Jordan's skin like braille. Mine, always. They talked legacies, adoption whispers, perhaps a sibling for the girls one day. Jordan, once petrified of permanence, now craved it. Rings exchanged in a P-Town ceremony, vows etched on salt air vows. But humanity's arc bent toward reflection, not erasure. Therapy unearthed Ryan's ghost. Jordan visited Montana, the clinic town a dusty echo. No grave cremated, ashes scattered in the bitterroots, but a bar where locals swap tales. Good man, Ryan, the barkeep said, pouring a Jameson. Artist type. Painted murals till the end. Jordan left a donation for the Arts Council. Anonymous, a debt paid in pigment. The true climax lingered in subtleties. A boardroom truce. Old allies returning with sheepish apologies. A New York Times profile framing Jordan as the CEO who came out twice. Pride swelled, but so did humility. Betrayal's echo? Mark's shadow faded, but it taught vigilance, trust earned, not assumed. One humid July eve, the loft thrummed with life. A barbecue on the roof deck, string lights twinkling against twilight. Emily arrived with Sam, her hand in his a quiet victory. The girls manned the grill, Lila flipping burgers with theatrical flair, Miah unveiling a mural. Their family, abstract swirls of color. Greens for Jordan's eyes, blues for Alex's calm, reds for the girls' fire, grays for Emily's steel. Nora narrated the toast. To truths buried and dug up. To love that bends but doesn't break. Laughter cascaded as plates passed. Stories overlapping. Lila's latest rally arrest, dropped charges. Miah's Comic Con acceptance. Nora's college apps, early to Yale. Naturally. Alex regaled with a gallery mishap, a collector mistaking a nude for abstract. Jordan watched, chest full. The man he'd been, a closeted architect of facades, distant as a faded tattoo. Later, as embers glowed and voices hushed, Jordan pulled Alex aside, the skyline a velvet backdrop. I left her with triplets, he murmured. But you gave me a life. Alex's eyes shone, mischievous. And I left Ohio for this. A stubborn tech bro with baggage sexier than sin. Their kiss was slow, the world fading to the press of lips, the promise of tomorrows. Emily caught them, a soft smile. You too. Still make me believe in seconds. She joined the girls, heads bent in conspiracy, plotting a girls' trip to Iceland, biospheres and northern lights. Jordan lingered, the night air bomb on old wounds. The truth he'd buried wasn't a monster, but a seed, sprouted now in resilience, in the radical act of being seen. No tidy bows. Scars itched on humid days, doubts whispered in quiet hours. But humanity lay in the tending, in choosing, daily, to unearth and embrace. As fireworks cracked over the river, some distant celebration, the family converged, arms linked in a ragged circle. Lila hooped, Miah sketched the bursts, Nora quoted Whitman. I am large, I contain multitudes. Emily leaned into Sam, Alex's head on Jordan's shoulder. In that moment, Jordan contained it all. Betrayal's bite, love's fierce mending, the human ache of becoming. The ex-wife who'd returned wasn't a harbinger of ruin, but a catalyst for grace. And the man he'd buried, risen, whole, held. The end? Not tragedy, nor flawless happily ever after. Just life, American as apple pie and protest marches. Messy, profound, unyieldingly kind.